Turkish artist works on the latest edition of a new comic magazine produced by women artists and aimed at women readers. A one-off edition in March this year proved so successful that Beyinyana is now published every month. One of the subjects it covers is violence against women, something not normally associated with humour.
It shouldn't be considered odd. Of course, what we want is for readers to be repelled by the violence itself, not by our particular way of representing it.
There's something tragic comic about it. For example, a university-educated person can be beating his wife. There's a comic element there. If you're educated, find something else to do. The magazine's willingness to tackle violence against women reflects a growing awareness of the issue in Turkish society. A lawyer who represents women who've suffered violence says the increased awareness is also because women in Turkey now want more independence.
More women now go out to work. Consequently, as women start to gain greater rights over their own lives, get involved with the world at large and learn to say no, their risk of being exposed to violence increases. We believe that violence has greatly increased today when compared with the past. It virtually amounts to gendercide.
Erbash works as a volunteer lawyer for the Morchati Women's Shelter Foundation, based in this quiet Istanbul side street. The organisation offers support to women who've experienced violence and, if necessary, a safe refuge in a secretly located shelter. On average, they receive 10 calls a day from women who've suffered violence. Ayşe was one of those women. We've agreed not to reveal her identity. She's now divorced and lives with her children in Istanbul. She paints a desolate picture of 14 years of marriage blighted by violence.
There was verbal violence and physical violence, all of it really. If I were to go into the details, there'd be so much to say. There were beatings directed not only at me, but violence inflicted on the children too. If he failed to satisfy his anger against me, he would take it out on the children. And if his anger against the children was not satisfied, he'd take it out on me. It was just one incident of violence after another. While these things were going on, I thought that my life would be like that forever, that he'd follow me forever, even beyond the grave. There were such awful days, such terrible years. When I think of it now, I always ask myself why I put up with it for those 14 years.
A survey on the issue by a Turkish university in 2009 concluded that 42% of women in the country suffer violence at the hands of their partner. In recent years, the Turkish government has introduced a range of new measures aimed at protecting women who experience this type of violence. But a detailed report in May this year by the Human Rights Watch organisation claims the new laws are not being properly implemented and women are in even more danger.
What we find at every level, we found in our research, was women complaining of not really being listened to when they repeatedly went to the police or prosecutors seeking help, seeking protection, and they were often turned away or told to come back later. Now that attitude needs to change. You need to have more dedicated resources put into combating violence.
The Turkish government, however, says it's doing just that. In May this year, it was the first country to sign up to the new Council of Europe Convention to combat violence against women. 12 more of the Council's member states followed suit at a special ceremony in Istanbul. It followed a year of Turkey working behind the scenes while chairing the Council's decision-making body, the Committee of Ministers.
We've made great efforts to finalise the convention, which is an effective legal mechanism against this important problem during our chairmanship.
2007'den bu yana yargı ve güvenlik güçleri mensuplarına
Since 2007, a very intense educational campaign has been directed towards members of the judiciary and police forces.
kadına karşı şiddetin önlenmesi
But we're aware that legal measures alone are not sufficient to put an end to violence against women, and that complementary measures and safeguards are necessary.
Tedbirlerinde, önlemlerinde gerekli olduğunun bilincindeyiz.
Once a government ratifies the new convention, it will be legally obliged to implement it. But there's an important incentive.
Dealing with the aftermath of violence, so it's destroyed families, the life of victims that is ruined, and also medical costs, health costs, social services, but also the whole judiciary, police investigations, financing all of that means spending a lot of public resources. So in the long run, most countries would be better off investing in the prevention rather than paying for the consequences.
The ancient walled city of Diyarbakir in southeast Turkey is literally the stage for some innovative initiatives aimed at preventing violence against women. This deputy police chief used to hold what he describes as traditional views on family relationships. But his attitudes changed after he attended a special course on domestic violence.
If my own thinking about such matters has changed, then I'm convinced that all other men who may exercise violence or who may have traditional ideas can also change.
He felt so strongly about it that he wrote a play on the subject featuring a fictional case of violence against a mother and her son, with some characters played by real police officers. This video of the production was made later, and the play has even been performed overseas.
I felt that theatre is one of the most important means of communication, so I sat down with some friends and wrote a script. We've now performed it in front of a total of 42,000 people, with 3 performances in Germany and 102 in Diyarbakir.
He's also been the driving forces behind a pilot project to give women of all ages training in the manufacturing of silk garments. Combined with classes and information, it aims to give women the means to be economically independent and enable them to escape a violent or potentially violent domestic situation.
I had no economic power of my own. I had no regular earnings. If you have no economic power, you can do nothing. Once I began to get some economic power for myself, well, then I said to myself, yes, I can do it. And I opened the door and left.